we have 10 minutes to cover 2 topics, so I'm going to be fast. Maybe not as fast as Rapid over here, but anyway, it's a pleasure to be here, and I have a background in addition to the Olympic movement into working with professional athletes, primarily NFL and NBA players in their life after sports. At George Washington University, we actually created an MBA program, Masters of Business Administration, for professional athletes. And it was a real enlightening experience for myself to work with these people. And we also have a program that works with their foundations, so sport philanthropy. And I see that both of these areas are going to be very important for the esports industry and the gamers as more money comes into the field and as they all start to retire. So with that, make sure I go the right way. All right. Am I not holding this right? There we go. Okay, why are we talking about this? So basically, the growth of professional esports gamers are increasing. There's now over 500 professionals that are making, over $100,000 a year, and it's just going to continue to increase. They start early. I was so surprised that Honey yesterday is only 19 years old, and they retire early. That doesn't mean that they stop making money. Many of them are going into streaming, as you know. But academics is not a priority for them. They're learning on the job. But what are they learning? And we want to make sure that they're being prepared for life after gaming. Sorry. Can somebody come up here? Okay, so I'm going to look at the lessons and best practices of what other pro sports are doing. Primarily the NFL and the NFL Players Association have very structured transition programs. The NBA has a pension plan and a transition, again, assistance programs. So they require that athletes put a certain % of their salaries into a pension because they know that if they don't, they may not have money afterwards. I'm sure many of you have read articles about how so many athletes are bankrupt. And so we don't want the same thing to happen with the gamers. There are many programs out there that can be adapted and utilized by gamers. For example, the IOC has an athlete career program, an athlete learning gateway. That's open. It's free on the web. So all you need to do is register, and they've got great courses on nutrition. They have great courses on psychological preparation. I did one on sports entrepreneurship, how to leverage your athletic abilities into being an entrepreneur. So I would highly recommend that if you're working with any gamers, that you have them go on to this platform and utilize it. Ernst & Young, they have a program for athletes. Again, gamers or athletes, they can tap into these existing programs. And then just another example is the EPL has the Professional Footballers Association. So if and when the gamers start forming players associations, but even your teams, I know Riot's already working on this, these are some examples that should be looked at. I must be going, okay, got it. I got it. Educational opportunities. So there's universities around the world right now that are jumping on the bandwagon, and maybe I'm one of them, right? So a couple years ago, we created a course on the business of esports. Now you're having universities that are creating entire degrees around esports. And here are some of those. The content ranges from esports management and marketing to game development, design, broadcasting, hosting. And I think athletes, gamers, should look towards entering some of these programs or getting some training so they do stay in the ecosystem since they already know it. So now I'm going to switch with that educational background right into esports and universities, not from the academic side, but more from the playing side. The United States obviously has a very deep history in collegiate athletics. NCAA, I'm sure all of you are aware of it. England also has a school sports system, but for the rest of the world, it's not quite as developed as in the United States. Esports is now being recognized, and there are organizations such as the National Association of Collegiate Esports that has filled the role of the NCAA. Just recently, though, the NCAA has taken notice of esports, and it's very similar to what's happening with the Olympic movement. At first, the IOC was like, no, 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 we don't want anything to do with it. And then all of a sudden now they're like, well, maybe we'll have something to do with it. And I see it's very similar to what's happening with the NCAA. At first they were like, oh no, these athletes are paid, we don't pay our athletes. You know, there's a whole different ecosystem, but I see it coming underneath NCAA sooner or later. Now, people are saying, why? Why should we join the Olympic movement? Why should we join NCAA? It is a credibility factor. I mean, right now, colleges, you know, students have to go and work with their administration, whether it's in an athletic department, or it's a computer science department, or it's in the student association department, and make their case. And students are not always the best lobbyists. They're not always the best, most articulate about why they should have an esports club or an association. But if it's under NCAA, everybody knows NCAA, they already have the power, and so it'll be a faster approach to starting esports clubs and getting more student athletes involved with esports. So that would be kind of the pro of it. The con of it is there's a lot of bureaucracy that goes in with the NCAA. But looking at the colleges that are currently offering esports, it's really unique that there's a all-women's college offering it. There's a historic black college and university, HBCU. And then there's, you know, University of Utah. That's, you know, some people say that it's in a Mormon area. So it's so diverse, and it's great that we have such unique members. Many of the universities that are offering it are very small, and they're using it for a marketing platform. So now people are saying, wow, you have an esport team, and if they win the esport competition, people are like recognizing it because it's on ESPN. And so it's interesting how they're using it as a marketing platform. And the universities are actually spending money. They're giving out scholarships. So 40 universities provided 655 student scholarships for $4.1 million with the package. That's an average of $7,600. And then 42% of these affiliated programs at universities fall within the athletic department. 42% are student affairs or student organizations, and 16% are under academic studies like computer science. These are a couple other programs, one in Europe that has, I know, a major competition and many schools participating, and then the IeSF just made a partnership with FISU. So my philosophy is that universities should embrace it and not fight it. I'm a guest speaker in many Asian universities, and the faculty are all like, oh, my students never come to class, they just stay in their dorm room. And so really I say start centers, start lounges, get them out of their room, get them to socialize, make sure the coach is there where the coach needs to say, okay, you know, class time, or you can't play unless you have a certain GPA. You know, so it kind of formalizes and keeps them both going to school while playing. And it's important for the discipline as well to balance both their love of sport and the need for education. Often these programs they pay for themselves. Many of you may have heard about the UC Irvine. They have sponsorships for $25,000 to $100,000. They just created a facility, and they have a naming rights for it. So it's called I Buy Power, which is a new $250,000 e-arena for 3,500 square feet. You're going to start seeing recruiting, just like universities right now recruit volleyball players and basketball players. They're now going to start recruiting esports athletes to come to the university. So we may be having some Koreans get scholarships at universities, or Chinese, or any of these other countries here. I've already mentioned the opportunity for small colleges to attract media attention. And then the other thing that universities like esports for is it tends to attract more STEM students, so into their engineering programs and their computer science. Why should publishers like university esports? They develop top talent. So you have players and employees, opportunity for more competitions and exposure, amateur events. They start scouting just like they're scouting right now. And then they're going to have the collegiate leagues and tournaments. And then sponsors seek college-educated target audience. So if you're college-educated, you tend to have more money, and many of the sponsors are looking for disposable income and people to buy their products. So quick recommendations. As we know, Riot is starting as Players Association. We know it's going to break off at one point or another. But again, give athletes a voice, standardization, and also make sure that they're prepared with some sort of pension or ability to make a living after they're done playing esports. I think a closer relationship with both sponsors and non-endemic companies like Ernst & Young, take advantage of that. And then on the academic perspective, expand esports curriculum and online programs. Many of these students are gamers or online, and they travel a lot, so make sure that we have online programs for them. Some concerns in the United States is Title IX, that they like to see if 56% of a university is female. They like to see 56% of athletic programs being female, only if there's interest. And so maybe nobody is going to come up and say, no female is going to come up and fight it if they don't offer opportunities for women like they offer for men. But it's something that I know is a concern. And then, as I said, NCAA is trying to figure out how to incorporate esports. Obviously, instead of paying, they'll give scholarships. But that is still something to be worked out. And with that, thank you very much.